thing I wanted to talk about. Saskatchewan's budget taking a big hit. So they anticipated a $12 million surplus, and it is now a $349 million deficit. And if you dig down into this, it says the province is tying the reversal to a $172 million drop in revenues, most of it from its crown agency, Saskatchewan Power, because not only did they remove the federal carbon tax, but they also removed the industrial carbon levy from Sask Power and other heavy emitters. Now, for me, I think this is actually a good reason to be in deficit, but at the same time, also, they should have cut the spending knowing full well this money wouldn't be flowing in. And it also shows that these so-called carbon levies are just a big dump of money into the government coffers. It doesn't actually go anywhere except for the government to spend on other things. It is just a tax. It doesn't save the environment. Michael, I'll go to you first.
It's an odd thing. Obviously I'd like to see a balanced budget because I think that's the right way to run a province.
Sure.
There are going to be years that it's going to be in deficit. There are going to be years that are going to be in surplus, right? What annoys me more than anything else about the opposition is ultimately when you balance the budget, they refer to it as an austerity budget, meaning there's no new money for programming, that sort of thing. And when you make a surplus, they basically say, well, the surplus isn't large enough because ultimately we could have done better. Like it's an annoying thing. One deficit does not bother me. Now, one of the things that has not been mentioned in this report is what has our population increase been over the last little while?
Right.
And how much has the new population used our social services, our healthcare, et cetera, our services that are contributing to this deficit? Because that's nowhere to be seen. There is the carbon tax. I get that. But I think the reporting needs to be a little better than what we're seeing here.
Lise.
Well, I think it's real important to talk about. It is one of the founding principles of our Sask party to have smaller government and to never be in the hole. Really, that is the goal of the Sask party. And according to the Fraser Institute under Premier Scott Moe, 2021, 2022, and 2023 have been the three highest years for per person spending on record. This is inflation adjusted, even if COVID-related spending is excluded. So we are spending a great deal of money in Saskatchewan that we don't quite have. And as a conservative, as both a social and a fiscal conservative, too many of these in a row is a real area of concern for me.
And let me just pop in here as someone who has lived with the Conservative Party dribbling towards the center, and then all of a sudden they don't make the NDP, they make the NDP seem all that not crazy because there's not a lot of daylight in between them and fiscal issues. That's how you end up with an NDP government for a while. That's what happened under the Redford Tories here in Alberta. We had a balanced budget under Ralph Klein, and we were really proud of that. We had a law preventing deficit spending, and then the Redford Tories repealed it, and then they spent like crazy. And then that whole idea of fiscal conservatism wasn't even the thing that the Conservatives held. So the NDP, their spending proposals didn't seem all that far off the Conservatives, and that is problematic.
And that is a real danger for the government of Saskatchewan and the reigning Saskatchewan party. They saw incredible losses to the NDP during this last provincial election. And if they continue on this path, where there is no daylight between Sask Party and the NDP, and there isn't in so many areas, right? Whether it is nuclear development, Sask Party and NDP are on the same page. Whether it's education, it's Sask Party and NDP are on the same page. Healthcare policy, NDP and Sask Party are on the same page. If the Sask Party doesn't make moves right now to put some daylight between them and the NDP, we could see an NDP government in 2028. Like, God forbid. We do not, obviously that would be a worst case scenario, but that is absolutely a risk given the current state of affairs in Saskatchewan.
One of the hardest things I think in politics would be, particularly in Saskatchewan and Alberta, is this government was elected November 7th, 2007.
Yeah.
Right? They have been in power for almost 18 years. And one of the toughest things, I think, with any political party is actually renewal while you're in power.
Sure.
Because all government, and I can't remember the person who said this, but all governments that are not conservative eventually start shifting towards the left, right?
Yeah.
And we're seeing it more and more. We're seeing it more in, you see it in cities particularly. It's not that the SAS party has gone full-blown center-left, that sort of thing. But in terms of the bureaucracy and sort of the insular nature of the party, they're closing ranks, and it doesn't seem like they're taking a lot of advice, or they're not really listening to their friends and members. They're just kind of doing things, saying there's a bit of a paternalistic attitude right now going on, and it's not really helpful. And the thing is, I'm a long-time SAS party supporter. I'm going to continue supporting them. But I see what's happening, and I see the constant erosion towards the left. And if they don't pull themselves out, it's up to them to pull themselves out, nothing else. If they don't, we will eventually see another NDP government here.
Yeah, I think that's why it is incumbent on conservatives to offer their conservative parties honest criticism. Because, as you rightly point out, all the forces of the universe are pulling them to the center and then to the left.
Yeah, correct.
The culture, the bureaucracy, the public service, the media, they're all to drag them towards the middle and then across the middle. And so there needs to be something to the right dragging them back to the other side. And I think that's sort of my role and your role, everybody's role in all of this, either as conservative journalists or as conservative activists. Exactly right. That's where we are. We're supposed to keep them honest.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead, Liz.
Go ahead, Michael. We give them permission. We give them social permission to support policy that is going to be wildly popular to conservatives. We give them the permission to do. And so in this moment, we're just giving the government of Saskatchewan permission to do, because Michael, I'm so happy you sort of mentioned the break. I call it being or I describe it like there being a break in the feedback loop with the Sask Party and the government of Saskatchewan right now. Whereas we see next door, the Premier of Alberta, Danielle Smith, holding Alberta Next panels with hundreds of Albertans in every room, hearing every single one of them. And this is something that the Sask Party is not only not doing, but they are so insular in the advice they're getting. They're sort of missing the boat as it pertains to conservatism in Saskatchewan. So it would be great if they blew open those doors to having conversations again about determining the next steps for Saskatchewan, and for really empowering the people of Saskatchewan to have those conversations with the government again.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. One of the problems that they have is, or it seems to me, is there's two parts to the advice game. There's giving the advice, and then there's actually taking the advice. Now, of course, as a layman, I don't know all the inner workings of the government, so they could be doing something that I'm not aware of. There might be information that I'm sure.
Always, yeah.
There's always this.
Yeah.
But one of the suggestions I gave the party last year, or 2 years ago before the last election, I said, when you've got MLAs that are driving to their home constituencies, which could be sometimes hours away from Regina.
Oh, sure.
Pick up your membership list, dial everybody on that membership list, and ask them one simple question. How are you doing? Not how are we doing? Not what do you need? It's like, how are you doing? Right? And that would be voter outreach. Now, the thing is, my suggestion was never taken up for some reason. But the reality is, it seems as though many SAS Party supporters have become tired of the government, because it seems the only time they get a call from them is when they're actually asking for money or donation.
Oh, I was just going to be like, I was rubbing my fingers under the desk. I was like, that's exactly right. And what you're describing there, Mikey, is a very Rob Ford move. Rob Ford gave his phone number to absolutely everybody and spent every waking moment where he wasn't like in-person politicking on the phone with his constituents. It didn't matter to Rob if why you were calling was you needed a garbage can. Okay. Rob wanted to hear from you and actively engage. Actually, Rob Ford and Danielle Smith have a lot in common in that regard. And I don't think that there would be any person on a membership list that wouldn't be happy to hear from their elected representatives at this point. It would just be so good. It would just be such a good idea.
It's such an easy thing to do, and I really truly hope that the Sask Party that maybe doesn't get annoyed with us, but maybe does get annoyed with us. Because what we're trying to do is we're trying to say, hey, listen, we see this thing going down. We see where this path ends, and this path ends without you being elected.
Well, and that's the crazy thing, right? Is that the Sask Party right now needs to be listening to its base.
Absolutely.
And doing the things that its base tells them to do, or else we will be walking 4 years. I'm sorry. It's preposterous for me to even think about, but could you imagine having Premier Carla Beck?
Ugh.
I mean, I'll be in Alberta so fast. I mean, there will just be no dust on my shoes. I'd be gone so fast. But that's what we're being faced with. And we as a conservative base have to make sure that doesn't happen by directing the Sask Party in the right direction at this exact moment in time.
We can direct them, but they need to listen. They need to be able to do that sort of thing. And right now, things are going against them. Particularly, this may become the only conservative voice for Saskatchewan politics in the entire province because they don't have to talk anymore. That's gone. That is absolutely gone. So it's this mediocre sort of non-thinking radio show that they have now that basically I don't quite get, right? But it's like, okay, well, if I want my mind full of mush, I can just tune it in here, I guess. But the reality is it doesn't make you think. It doesn't make you there's no real values there that are being expressed, right? One way or the other, left or right. There's no real values being expressed. So the Sask Party, I think, have really, really taken a hit because the thing is, I think their media is not helping them right now.
Yeah, Saskatchewan's media presence is comparatively to other places is very, very weak. But we have absolutely no conservatives doing. We have no conservatives doing a mainstream show, and we're just thinking about maybe changing that maybe a little bit.
Yeah, we should change it because it needs to be done. You got the brainiacs at Couros basically saying, well, you know what, we should be just a little bit to the right of the CBC, and you take a look at the Couros stock price. How does that help them? Like, come on, give me a break.
Yeah.
Right.